Incredible to be true. We are tracing the deeply cinematic, awe-inspiring, and ultimately heartbreaking life of Nikola Tesla. I am so excited to guide you through this, because Tesla is a figure who has been totally mythologized, often misunderstood, and for a long time, historically sidelined. We're going to separate the man from the myth using the actual timeline of his life to uncover the tragic arc of a true genius.
I mean, think about it. How did the man who invented the modern world die broke, alone, and surrounded by pigeons? It's the ultimate paradox, right? This is an inventor whose mind gave us the alternating current electrical system, the exact same system that's powering the device you're using to watch this right now. Yet his final days were spent in a cheap hotel room, literally feeding birds, completely destitute. Well, this explainer is going to answer exactly how that unimaginable shift happened.
So, let's dive into this timeline to understand the rise, peak, and fall of a true visionary. We'll cover 1. The spark of genius, 2. Powering the modern world, 3. Vision versus reality, 4. Isolation and the pigeon, and 5. The enduring Tesla mystery.
All right, starting off with Chapter 1, The Spark of Genius.
You know, to really understand Tesla the inventor, we've got to first understand Tesla the kid, because his unique brilliance was actually born alongside a profound, traumatic event. When Nikola Tesla was just 7 years old, growing up in the Austrian Empire, which is modern-day Croatia, he witnessed his older brother Dane die in a horrific horseback riding accident. The shock of this just deeply traumatized the young boy. Shortly after, Tesla began experiencing these intense, blinding visions, where the air around him literally appeared to be, quote, filled with tongues of living flame. As he got older, he actually learned to use his willpower to control these visions. He used this intense mental imagery to build and test entire machines inside his mind before he ever even put a pen to paper.
Let's fast forward to 1884 and see how this builds his career. Tesla arrives in the United States to work for Thomas Edison, who was, of course, the leading figure in electric lighting at the time. Tesla quickly impressed the Wizard of Menlo Park with his incredible ingenuity. And according to Tesla, Edison made him this massive promise, a $50,000 bonus if Tesla could improve Edison's clunky, inefficient direct current or DC generators. To put that into perspective, 50 grand back then would be millions today. So Tesla worked late into the night for months. And guess what? He actually solved the problem.
But here's the stark, brutal reality. When Tesla went to collect his $50,000 bonus, Edison flat out refused to pay. He told Tesla that he just didn't understand American humor, claiming the whole offer was nothing more than a practical joke. I mean, wow. Tesla, who had incredible pride and resilience, quit on the spot. But the electric market was really tough. Unable to find backers for his own ideas right away, this brilliant engineer was reduced to literally digging ditches for $2 a day just to survive. It perfectly frames this constant, lifelong battle between his soaring intellect and his grounded, everyday struggles.
Which brings us to Chapter 2, Powering the Modern World.
Thankfully, that ditch-digging period didn't last forever. Moving into the era where Tesla's technical brilliance physically built the electrical systems we still rely on today, the crucial point is understanding what he actually invented to beat Edison. See, Edison's direct current systems were super limited. They couldn't transmit power over long distances, and they required constant, spark-heavy maintenance. So, Tesla developed the alternating current, or AC, polyphase system utilizing a rotating magnetic field. Basically, it was an elegant, simple, self-starting motor design that didn't need a commutator. This completely avoided the sparking and high maintenance of Edison's machines, and, crucially, it allowed high-voltage electricity to be pushed over massive distances.
And by 1888, his AC motor caught the eye of George Westinghouse, who partnered with Tesla. Together, they essentially proved to the world that AC was the superior technology. They won the bid to light the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, just totally dazzling the public with this safe, reliable polyphase system. Building on that immense success, they were awarded the contract to build the very first large-scale AC generating system at Niagara Falls. Tesla had officially won the War of the Currents. He had, for sure, changed modern society forever.
But, and this is a huge but, his world-changing success was matched with a total lack of business acumen. During the financial panic of 1890, Westinghouse's investors threatened to pull out unless the company cut back on expenses. And specifically, they were looking at the very generous $2.50 per horsepower royalty they owed Tesla. Westinghouse basically told Tesla, look, if you don't tear up the contract, the company goes under. To ensure his AC system survived, Tesla agreed. He literally walked away from a royalty clause that would have made him one of the absolute wealthiest men in human history. Just let that sink in.
Let's move to Chapter 3, Vision versus Reality. Here we start to really see the divergence between his futuristic experiments and his increasingly terrible luck in securing steady funding. In 1898, right at the height of the Spanish-American War, Tesla demonstrated a radio-controlled boat at Madison Square Garden. He called it a telautomaton. He was decades ahead of his time, like so far ahead that the U.S. Patent Office refused to believe it worked until they saw a live demonstration with their own eyes. Tesla naively thought this invention would render all warfare obsolete, reasoning that battles could just be fought by machines instead of men. But the military just wasn't interested. His vision was profound, but the reality of the market completely rejected him.
And this string of bad luck culminated in his most devastating failure, the Wardenclyffe Tower. In 1901, he convinced financier J.P. Morgan to invest $150,000 into a giant tower on Long Island to transmit wireless power and communication. It was a massive undertaking. But that exact same year, his rival, Guglielmo Marconi, managed to transmit a radio signal across the Atlantic. Investors immediately flocked to Marconi. By 1904, Morgan firmly said no to any further funding for Tesla. Left bankrupt, the magnificent Wardenclyffe property was ultimately seized and turned over to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel just to pay for Tesla's staggering living debts.
Chapter 4, Isolation and the Pigeon. So, when the business world withdrew its support, Tesla essentially withdrew from society. He retreated into a solitary existence, moving between a series of ever-cheaper New York City hotels. With his active career stalling out, his mind turned sharply inward. The intense visions of his childhood seemed to morph into really severe obsessive-compulsive behaviors. He started counting his steps literally everywhere he went. He demanded exactly 18 napkins at his table before every single meal. He developed a huge phobia of germs and became hyperfixated on the numbers 3, 6, and 9. The brilliantly mapped mind that built the electrical grid was now trapped in these endless loops of compulsion.
In his deep isolation, Tesla actually preferred the company of city pigeons to people. He'd leave his hotel windows open to feed them and even spent thousands of dollars nursing injured birds back to health. He grew particularly attached to one specific white pigeon. He once wrote, "I love that pigeon as a man loves a woman. As long as I had her, there was a purpose to my life." It really humanizes the myth, doesn't it? Showing a lonely genius just absolutely desperate for connection.
The story of that pigeon ends in 1922 in a pretty surreal way. In what was likely a dream, or maybe a really vivid hallucination, Tesla claimed the white pigeon flew into his room to tell him she was dying. He said that light literally poured from her eyes, these blinding beams of light. When the bird died, something inside Tesla just broke. He told his friends that he felt, in that moment, his life's work was entirely finished. Even though he'd go on to live for another 2 decades, that bizarre but highly poignant moment really signaled the spiritual end of his innovating years.
Finally, Chapter 5, The Enduring Tesla Mystery.
So, what actually happened to Tesla's final inventions? To answer that, we have to look at his final days and the incredibly strange, highly secretive events that occurred right after he died alone in the Hotel New Yorker on January 7, 1943. It's the question historians and theorists have been asking for decades. See, in the 1930s, an elderly Tesla began holding these annual birthday press conferences where he made some wild claims. Most famously, he claimed to have invented a death ray, or a particle beam weapon he called Teleforce. He said this thing could melt engines and knock 10,000 enemy airplanes from the sky from 250 miles away.
Now, because it was smack in the middle of World War II, the U.S. government was understandably terrified that blueprints for a literal death ray might fall into the wrong hands. So the FBI and the Office of Alien Property Custodian immediately swooped in and seized all of Tesla's belongings. They brought in MIT scientist John G. Trump to review the files, and Trump declared there was nothing dangerous in them. But here is the mathematical discrepancy that fuels the mystery to this day. The government initially seized 80 trunks of Tesla's notes, but when they finally returned his belonging to his nephew years later, there were only 60 trunks. Which leaves us with this final, absolutely wild thought. Where did those missing 20 trunks go? Did the government just consolidate his files? Or did they find something in the fading notes of an isolated pigeon-feeding old man that was simply too dangerous to release to the public? Are the plans for a war-ending death ray still hidden in a vault somewhere today? It's the ultimate cliffhanger for the life of history's most misunderstood genius. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible timeline. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.